What's up, critters? It's Noah from Table Ready, and we are here to talk Travis, some theories, and not just ones connected to Travis. I think this goes a little bit beyond him, or at least it could. So I have two theories that I want to talk about. The first is less entertaining and pretty simple and probably most likely. The second is much more entertaining, maybe a little disappointing for some people, but I think could have some pretty cool implications in the future. My first theory is simple. It's just that Travis is not ready to come back to the game as his main character and needed some more time, either because the story hasn't gotten to where it needs to in order for him to play that character, or because he's just not ready. Now, I don't know how far in advance they shoot these episodes, but it is possible that in the first episode, the cast and Matt saw the response from the community when Travis wasn't at the table. That could have in some way impacted Matt's choice to maybe bring Travis back prematurely. Give him a one-shot character that he could play just so he's at the table and can maybe bring some peace to those people in the comment section. I wouldn't be mad at that. If Travis is playing a comedic relief character until they meet his more permanent one, I'm fine with that. Simple enough, and that's the less interesting theory, so let's get to the more interesting one. And it's a doozy, so grab a drink, grab some snacks, and let's go. That's better. During the entirety of Campaign 2, critters were calling for throwbacks and references to Campaign 1. Everybody was asking about the Tal'Dorei Council. They wanted them to go and try to find members of Vox Machina. The party and Matt all resisted the urge to basically make it one big nostalgia trip in order to create something new and fresh that could stand on its own. It's my thought that this campaign is going to compromise on that point a good amount. We've already seen that with the reuse of some of the player characters already. And I hear you guys. Some of you are really disappointed that a lot of these characters are being brought over from EXU, and then there's Bertrand and now Chetney. I think that there's two groups of people here. One group that loves it and is completely okay with it, and another that just wants original content. I'm personally on team original content, but let me tell you why I think that if Travis continues to play characters not just from one shot, but let's say past characters, I think it could be a good compromise, and here's why. Allowing one player to play multiple different throwback characters throughout the game is kind of fun, especially if turnover is high. This is because you get the opportunity to wonder who's coming next. What's the cool little bit of nostalgia that I'm going to get in the next couple episodes? When you include the EXU cast, if they had more original characters, people wouldn't be so upset about Travis reusing characters. What do you think? So it's my thought that if we don't see Travis's new, more permanent character, then we're gonna see more previous characters that he's played. They'll have to be level appropriate. Here's my rundown if it's only Travis. Travis starts off as Bertrand Bell, a fighter who's lost many levels to old age. Bell is a character that he played in a one-shot in the Search for Grog. Bell dies, and then he plays Chetney, who I'm guessing is going to be a level-appropriate old gnome. Quick note here, Chetney dead in 3. I don't think he makes it much further than the holidays. Before you guys take off to the comments section and start ripping me a new one, I saw the tweet, here it is. You're referring to Chetney. Travis's character in Campaign 3 is Chetney, entirely different. I can't tell if Matt's just jumping in on the troll, because no, it's not entirely different. Saying that Chetney and Chutney aren't the same is more egregious than saying that Crispy Oats and Cheerios aren't the same thing, or that the Hunger Games was just influenced by Battle Royale, or that these two dudes aren't the same guy. I might need to check on that last one. After Chutney, I have John Bunder. That's right, John Bunder, who Travis played in a one-shot that was basically playing in Hogwarts. He's a sorcerer, which doesn't really fit the mold of Travis filling the classes that aren't already represented in the party, but I think the flavor of Bunder is so different from the other sorcerers in the lot that he could stand on his own and look pretty good for a couple of levels. Bunder was level 5, so it really wouldn't take anything to port John into this story without making too many changes. You could even have him come in at level 6 or something, having grown a little bit. Lockhor Windfollow at level 7, we met this paladin in the one-shot Kobolds, Catacombs, and Dragons, and filling that paladin role would work really well here. The party doesn't have a paladin, and they could. Goober I picked because he's funny. There's literally no other reason. I think that Goober was a funny raccoon, and I think would fit pretty well in this setting. Dark, grungy. I'd actually prefer it if this was just a cameo, like a fake out. Travis shows up, throws the paper on the table, and acts like this rough and rowdy raccoon, and then immediately switches to the real character that he's going to play. Goober just segueing him to his next character. Nice little cameo, little touch of, and then sending us to a more serious, more permanent character. Now the next two I think could fit in different places in the campaign and at different levels. It really depends on where the story goes. At this point, we could even be out of Marquette, so who knows what's happening next. Macaroni Samsonite is a perfect choice if they end up in the forest. This wild little creature, with or without his big buddy, is one to be reckoned with. And I would love to see this evil little cleric do its thing. If Travis plays Macaroni and it's around level 10, then at this point we'd be somewhere in the early to mid-teens. Here's the only throwback character that has Travis's name that I'm going to include on the list. And that's Travis, the half-orc rogue, who I'm going to go ahead and call the Anger. Because why not? It would be sweet if this half-orc was taken under, the big Grog's wing, trained up a little bit, and now had a multi-class and could be the Anger. Why not? It'd be awesome. At this point, I think Lawrence Lorelli would be a good pick. This blood hunter human lycanthrope is smooth and calculating and vicious. The party is going to have to work itself around for maybe a couple of levels, but you know that they're not going to be able to stick with him long term. If we're talking throwaway characters, I think it's a good one that could add a lot of complexity and would fit the vibe to a T. Whenever Larry departs from the scene, it's when we get to the later levels, right? And at this point, I would actually not like to see this happen. Sure, some would love this, some would hate this. I think what we could end up seeing is Ford and or Grog making appearances, even if it's just for one small adventure when the party is at high enough level to roll with them. I don't see how either of them would fit into this story, but who knows where the story will be at that point, right? Let's continue. This is actually where the theory gets more interesting to me. I don't actually think that Travis is the only one that could do this. It could be that Chetney dies, which he will, in a couple of episodes, and then Travis finds his more permanent character and sticks around. During this time, another character exits and then comes back as a throwback from some other campaign or one-shot. All this to say that I think one player will probably be playing a throwback character at all times during the campaign. There are certain players I don't think that this will happen to, like Marisha and Laura. I think that Laudna Imogen thing going on is way too story-centric. First up is Sam. He's already been known to like playing multiple characters in a campaign. We've seen this in Campaign 1 and in Campaign 2. Whether or not you see Veth and Not as being two different characters, I do, and I do think that that satiated that need for some difference. Sam is playing Fresh Cut Grass, who's straight up martyr fuel. He is self-sacrificed to its pinnacle and believes that everyone else who's soul-touched is worth more than himself. I don't doubt at all that Fresh Cut Grass could be on the chopping block. If this happens, I think that the setting is perfect and primed and ready for the Meat Man, either in this form or in this form, to enter the campaign. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably this Meat Man and not this one. This campaign, they've made it a point to say how gender ambiguous the characters are. Next up is Talisin. Talisin is playing Ashton, who has very few friends, family, and contributes very little to the story at large right now. More importantly, With Laudna's backstory and now this whole Delilah, possibly Vecna, most likely Delilah, thing going on, Talisin could, later in the campaign, make a cameo as Percy if they make it to Whitestone or need to handle some of the Briarwood nonsense. The Exandria Unlimited cast could also be expendable, but I think Orm has too much to offer, and even the potential that the party could meet Keyleth might keep him around if they're trying to really harp on that potential nostalgia for Campaign 3. If they really are trying to make this campaign different from others. I think that this rotating characters more often instead of inviting guest stars on might be the way that they go. Now these are all just nonsense ideas that I want to bring up with you guys so that we can talk in the comments below. Let me know what you think, what characters might plug in, which ones might not, and let me know what you think about the potential here. Tell me if you have a better theory, or if you think there's some truth to mine, or if you don't want to see any more reused characters. Let me know in the comments below, and yeah, I guess I'll see you Friday.